Open your fridge, grab an egg, just one. Hold it in your palm for a second. It weighs almost nothing. It costs pennies, and it hasn't changed in thousands of years. Now think about everything in your kitchen that needs one. Pancakes, pasta, mayo, cookies, custard, fried rice, meatballs, that weird glossy shine on a bakery croissant. One object showing up in half your recipes, doing a completely different job every single time. That's strange, right? Salt only salts. Sugar only sweetens. But this one thing binds, thickens, glues, fluffs, and shines. Sometimes all in the same dish. So what's actually going on inside that shell? Let's crack it open. Literally. Start with the white. It's mostly water plus a tangle of proteins. Think of them like tiny balls of string all knotted up tight. On their own, they don't do much. But hit them with heat or beat them hard with a whisk, and those knots come undone. The strings unravel and grab onto each other, forming a web. That web is everything. It's what turns runny egg white into a solid. It's what holds a meringue up in stiff little peaks. It's the invisible scaffolding inside a soufflé, keeping it from collapsing the second it hits room air. You're not just cooking an egg white. You're building a net out of protein. Now the yolk. Totally different job. The yolk is packed with a molecule called lecithin, and lecithin has a weird skill. It can hold on to both fat and water at the same time. Normally, oil and water want nothing to do with each other. Shake them together and they separate in seconds. But lecithin grabs one end of the fat molecule and one end of the water molecule and refuses to let go. That's mayonnaise. That's hollandaise. One yolk forcing oil and vinegar into a smooth, stable sauce that has no business existing. So already, one shell, two completely different superpowers. A protein net strong enough to hold up a cake, a fat molecule that bullies liquids into mixing. And we're just getting started. Here's a fun one. Bartenders have been cracking raw egg whites into cocktails for over a century. Order a whiskey sour or a Ramos gin fizz done right, and it comes with a thick, silky foam sitting on top. That foam isn't cream. It isn't soap. It's the exact same protein web from your meringue, just shaken instead of whisked, trapping tiny air bubbles into a stable, pillowy layer that sits there without collapsing. Bartenders call it a dry shake. Shake without ice first to build the foam, then shake again with ice to chill it. Same chemistry as your kitchen, just wearing a tuxedo. Now something you'd never guess. Long before modern glue existed, bookbinders and manuscript artists used beaten egg white. They called it glaire, as an adhesive to stick gold leaf onto pages. Medieval illuminated manuscripts, the ones with gold letters that still shine in museums today, were often gilded using nothing but glaire. Painters brushed it on, pressed impossibly thin gold onto it, and the protein web locked that gold in place for over 500 years. That gold on a 1400s manuscript is still there today, held by the same sticky protein that thickens your custard. Photography, believe it or not, owes eggs a debt too. In the mid-1800s, before modern film existed, photographers coated paper in a thin layer of egg white to help light-sensitive chemicals stick evenly to the surface. It's called albumin printing, And for decades, it was the dominant way photos were made. Somewhere in an old family album or a museum archive, there's a good chance a sepia photo from that era exists because someone cracked a few dozen eggs that morning. Kitchen, bar, bookshelf, dark room. At this point, you have to ask, why does this one object from the back end of a chicken keep turning up everywhere? The answer's the same every time. An egg is built by nature to do one job: protect and feed a growing chick. To do that, it needs protein for structure, fat for energy, and a molecular design that can be reshaped by heat or air or acid into totally different physical forms. Humans didn't invent any of that. We just kept finding new places to use it. But here's the one that might surprise you the most. It's not in your kitchen. It's in your bloodstream. Since the 1940s, most seasonal flu shots have been made by injecting flu virus into fertilized chicken eggs. The virus grows inside for several days, gets pulled out, purified, and turned into the dose that ends up in your arm. Sounds almost too old school for a world with mRNA vaccines. But egg-based production is still one of the biggest methods used worldwide, and manufacturers go through hundreds of millions of eggs every single year just to keep flu shots on shelves. A bad egg shortage at the wrong time can actually threaten how much vaccine gets made. So the same object thickening your custard tonight is also, on an industrial scale, one of the quiet reasons flu season doesn't hit even harder. Given everything an egg does, you'd think replacing it would be easy. People have tried. Hard. Since the early 2000s, food tech companies have poured serious money into plant-based egg substitutes, mostly built from mung bean protein, trying to scramble, bake, and bind like the real thing. Some have gotten impressively close. A few have raised hundreds of millions of dollars chasing it. But ask any pastry chef, and they'll tell you the truth. A substitute that whips into decent foam usually can't bind a cake. One that binds well usually can't emulsify a sauce. Nobody's built one thing that does all 5 or 6 jobs by accident, the way a real egg does. And that's the part that should stop you for a second. We've split atoms. We've mapped the entire human genome. We built a vaccine from scratch in under a year, and we still haven't fully replicated one single cell laid by a chicken, because that cell is running structural chemistry that evolution spent millions of years perfecting for building a baby bird, not your Sunday pancakes. So next time a recipe asks for 2 eggs and you crack them into a bowl without thinking twice, stop for a second. You're holding something that can trap air into a cloud, force oil and vinegar to cooperate, glue gold to a page for 5 centuries, foam up a cocktail, and grow the virus sitting in a vaccine near you right now. No lab has replaced it. Not yet. Which means, for now, if you want the full, strange range of what this thing can actually do, you still need the real one. One small, ordinary-looking object from the back of a chicken, quietly holding together your breakfast, your cocktail, your bookshelf, and your immune system.